All right, let's get into it. Today we are diving headfirst into one of the most bananas and entertaining stories I've come across in a long time. We're talking time travel, deadly royal politics, and food that can either win you a kingdom or get you killed.
Just think about this for a second. What if a top chef, someone at the peak of their game, suddenly had to cook for a bloodthirsty, unpredictable tyrant, just to stay alive? We're not talking about getting a bad review. We're talking about a bad dish literally costing you your head. That is the crazy, high-stakes world we're about to jump into.
And right at the heart of all this madness is our hero, Yeon Ji-young. She's a culinary genius, she's at the absolute top of her profession, and she has no clue that her life is about to be completely turned upside down.
So, how does a modern-day chef end up in 15th century Korea? Well, it's about as dramatic as it gets. Picture this. Ji-young lands her dream job as the top chef in France. She's on top of the world. But then she gets terrible news. Her father is sick. She immediately hops on a plane back to Korea. But mid-flight, a solar eclipse happens. Everything goes haywire. And boom, she wakes up in the Joseon Dynasty. Just like that.
And what's wild is how fast her modern skills make an impact. Almost immediately, she runs into a court official and manages to whip up a Sous vide steak. Now you have to imagine what that's like for someone from the 15th century. This meat is so perfectly cooked, so impossibly tender. It's like sorcery to him. His mind is so blown that word of this mystery chef and her magical cooking spreads like wildfire, all the way to the royal palace.
And this is where her real problems start. Because her skills don't just get her a little bit of attention. Oh no. They get her noticed by the single most dangerous man in all of Korean history.
She's forced to cook for King Yeonsangun, a guy who is, to put it lightly, a terrifying paradox. On the one hand, he's known as one of the most brutal, bloodthirsty tyrants to have ever lived. But on the other, he's a massive foodie. He has this incredibly refined palate. So for Ji-young, every single meal is a test. She doesn't just have to cook well, she has to create a masterpiece. Because if she fails, she's not just disappointing a king, she's provoking a monster.
So she's given the title of Daryong Suksu, the royal head chef. Now normally this would be the highest honor a chef could dream of. But for Ji-young, it's a gilded cage. It's a non-stop tightrope walk where every dish she serves could be her last. Her kitchen knives aren't just tools, they're her only weapons for survival.
And of course, it wouldn't be a true historical epic without a little romance, right? Except in this court, love is just as deadly as the politics.
And what a love triangle it is. On one side, you've got the king himself. He's not just impressed, he becomes absolutely obsessed with her and her food. I mean, he is a walking red flag with a crown, but you can't deny he's fascinating. And on the other side, his half-brother, Prince Jinseong. He is the total opposite. He's kind, he's gentle, he's the safe bet. It's the classic pull between devastatingly dangerous and wonderfully stable.
So how did she capture the prince's heart? Well, in a pretty epic way. He gets poisoned, falls into a coma, and everyone thinks he's a goner. But Ji-young uses her 21st century knowledge of ingredients to create this incredible healing soup she calls Restore. She literally nurses him back from the brink of death, and from that moment on, he is completely 100% devoted to her.
But when you have the affection of both the king and the prince, you are bound to make some powerful enemies. And her biggest one is Jang Nok-su, the king's favorite concubine. She sees Ji-young as a massive threat to her power, her influence, and her survival. And let me tell you, she is absolutely ruthless.
And just to give you an idea of how cunning she is, check this out. Jang Nok-su finds out the queen has a deadly flour allergy. So what's she do? She hatches this plot to secretly add flour to a dish Ji-young is making for the queen, with the goal of framing her for attempted murder of a royal. This is next-level palace intrigue. It's a lethal game of chess.
All this scheming and romance plays out against a backdrop of these incredible, high-stakes culinary battles, where Ji-young is constantly forced to prove she's the best or die trying.
And these are not your average episodes of Chopped. We're talking about a cook-off against a delegation from China where national pride is on the line, an intense Thai cooking competition, and even a truffle hunt that becomes way, way more than just a search for a fancy ingredient.
And you can bet her nemesis is there, trying to sabotage her every step of the way. During that Thai competition, right before she's about to cook, she finds out that Jang Nok-su has had all of her fresh crabs spoiled. Ruined. She's left with nothing and has to think on her feet just to stay in the game.
And if you thought that was bad, it gets even more intense. That truffle hunt I mentioned, it's actually a trap. Her enemies use it as a chance to try and assassinate her while she's all alone in the mountains. A simple search for an ingredient turns into a literal fight for her life.
So, the big question is, how does she do it? How does a 21st century chef manage to not only survive this absolute snake pit, but actually start to gain power? Well, let's break it down.
Her survival really comes down to this unique mix. Obviously, her culinary genius is her #1 weapon. But it's her modern knowledge of science, of hygiene, of nutrition that gives her this unbelievable edge. Over time, she also gets really good at navigating the court's dangers, developing some serious political smarts. And yeah, let's be real, a little bit of pure luck doesn't hurt either.
And on top of everything else, there's this huge political mystery simmering just below the surface. It's all about a blood-stained piece of clothing that belonged to King Yeonsangun's mother, who was executed years ago. This palace secret is basically a ticking time bomb, and if it goes off, it could unleash the king's full rage on everyone.
You know, if I had to boil this whole story down to one sentence, this is it. It has the insane pressure of Hell's Kitchen, the brutal politics of Game of Thrones, and a sweeping time travel romance all rolled into one. It is an absolutely addictive mix.
And really, that's what this story leaves you thinking about. In a world full of swords, poisons, and political plots, could a chef's skill actually be the most powerful weapon of all? Can a simple frying pan really be mightier than the sword? It's a pretty cool thought.